Welcome to the video about pictures which I colored in September, and let's start from Tales of Two Mountains, lovely book which I sadly don't color quite often. But in September I did this vibrant lovely page, and all pictures in this book, they remind me about children's book illustrations, so of course we can imagine our own fairy tale behind each of these pictures. I think that here I mostly was attracted to the geese. I love to think about color combos for feathers, how to show not only the main color but also how to show that feathers are shiny and have this additional color accents. I think that everything worked quite well. I even did pencil background. For the main image I used Prismacolors, but for background I decided to spare my more professional pencils, and Arctic's pencils behaved quite well. Of course, not my favorite part to cover background with pencils, but I wanted this vibrant cobalt colors for background. I think that they also added to the fairy tale style of illustrations. So I did it with Arctics and rest with Prismacolor pencils. Yes, it reminded me how much I enjoy coloring in this book. Despite average paper quality, I can't color here with water-soluble pencils or with watercolors, but with pencils I enjoy to do pictures here, and I hope that maybe in October I will do another page. I have some plans. Next, let's have a look at Matchstick Mouse. Of course, during autumn season I want to color something in this book because I don't use it very frequently. But not all pictures here are very inspiring. The best pictures I have already colored. In September I did this lesson for security where Mouse teach the worm about danger of cats, even if cat doesn't look very dangerous here, but it's lovely, and I absolutely love the spider. And when we had not very good weather here in Kiev, I also did a page with this rainy weather, but I think that inside of their home the whole company is quite comfy. They have candle. It really reminded me about our autumn previous year when we also used candles and when we had a rainy weather. Also, I decided that maybe from time to time I will do pictures in this book, and in such way my mouse will travel around the world. In September, Mouse and Worm visited Egypt. They ate pizza. I don't know why they decided not to try something more traditional for the region, but they had a lovely evening. At least that's what I imagined. The dusk time, and that's why I decided to use slightly unusual colors for the sky, because it's really boring to do only blue sky everywhere, and it created a good contrast to all those sandy colors for the pyramid, for the stones. So I think that it's lovely. Now let me show you a huge project which I started in August and happily finished in September. It was long in time, but actually without big problems. Apart from small challenges for color selection for some tiny flowers, it was easy to create the main color combo. I knew that I want to try how pink colors will look together with red colors. Usually, if I would create my own flower composition, I wouldn't put together red and pink. I thought that it's not the best mix. But here I think that it looks lovely, and I deliberately decided to do some poppies in red color, and then those huge flowers, they reminded me about cosmos flowers. I think that the correct name is this. And even on poppies, I tested slightly different color combos. Maybe it's not so visible now on the screen, but several, they have more a clean red color. Several poppies have slightly yellowish or orange undertone, especially in the central part and on the tips of the petals. So it was fun to try different color combos, which one is the best. I think that I had really good practice, so now I am not afraid to color poppies. Then, of course, all pictures by Leila Duly, they have huge amount of various leaves. And for me, it's always a challenge how to color leaves in such a way that they look interesting, slightly different, and that's why I usually use all greens from Polychromos and all green pencils from Prismacolor set. Here it wasn't an exception. Main green palette I took from Polychromos, but Prismacolors helped me to do also some interesting leaves here or here. Well, long work, but I enjoyed it, and yes, it really was a very relaxing study. I selected a group of flowers for one video and I did them. I think that I really love those tiny dahlias. The only flower which created for me some problems or challenges were those huge daisies. Honestly, I would love to keep them white, but white on white paper, I simply don't have enough skills to do it. So maybe this is the least favorite flower. But lucky for me, all the rest I absolutely love. And I'm happy that I finished such a huge spread. I think that even without background, it looks quite nice. So sometimes you don't need to do a background. I try to remind myself about this fact. Next, we will look at A Romantic Country by Eriy, obviously. I wanted to do several Eriy's pictures in September, but unfortunately didn't have enough time. Usual problem. But I did the Castle Vegetable Garden. Here. Where I also tried to add several personal touches, to add something from myself. I added plums to this tree because, well, honestly, sometimes Eriy's trees, they could be a little bit bald, only several leaves and empty branches, so I decided to make it a little bit more interesting. And I also added those wild grape wine, but well, that wasn't the most successful part of this page. Anyway, this also was quite easy. Still, I'm not a big fan of Prismacolors on this paper, but honestly, I am not a fan of any pencils on this paper. Sometimes it feels too smooth, but Prismacolors, they are closest best choice for this paper. With Polychromos I got worse results, so recently I decided to stay with Prismacolors, and if I need to do huge pencil backgrounds, Arctics also can work with one layer. You can recognize all those Prismacolors beige and gray colors for the wall, and I decided that it's such a fantasy style picture that even for greenery I can use slightly more vibrant colors. For Leila Duly or for Teresa Goodrich books, I wouldn't do such leaves with dark green or with spring green. But for this more fantasy style, children's style illustration, I think that they added this cheerful touch to the vegetable garden. Another interesting moment in September was the fact that I finally did something in this Angela Harding book, which I already own for several months, maybe already for a year, and I had no idea how actually to start coloring here, because it has lovely artworks. They are beautiful even in black and white, and actually all those pictures, they have a lot of black areas, so it was difficult to find media which I can use, or any idea how to color them. In the end, I decided to start from a page with this lovely bird. For the background, I used Inktense pencils. They worked well on this paper, so any problems at all. Probably it will be also possible to use watercolors. And I decided to play on the difference on texture. Those Inktense, they indeed create slightly more matte finish, and bird, which I did with regular pencils, with wax-based pencils, it even shine a little bit against this dark background. So it was challenging, and well, mostly areas which I don't like, it's those partial elements which were cut from the original art, like part of the bird or this butterfly. I think that they are distracting. This area I do love, so definitely from time to time, as a relax, as a something totally different from my usual style, of course I will try to color this book. And I think that it's really nice for winter and autumn season. Somehow for me, majority of these pictures, they are fall or winter landscapes. And of course I was happy to discover this artist. Her works, they are very unique. Okay, next, Urban Anna. In September, I got myself another book by Urban Anna, even if I promised that I won't purchase her other books until I will do a good progress in this one. But I realized that, well, from time to time I can indulge myself and to purchase something from art supplies or from coloring books. In September I did only one page, but I selected something unusual, this pink oyster bar. It was interesting to color building with such unusual color for walls, and I used my usual technique, a little bit of graphitins, and mostly I used Inktense pencils. I love them more and more thanks to this book. It was really interesting to do small work like shadows here or shadows on the curtain. I think that it's similar to the original art, and I enjoyed the coloring process a lot. It really helps me to relax, and I love to play with Inktense pencils, especially when you activate them with water. That's my favorite moment. Okay, let me sort my books. Maybe next we will have a look at Neel Ko. In September I decided to do a page not in cats, but in girls with cats. And I decided to finish this spread. Of course, pictures are not very connected, but on both sides we have lovely girls. And honestly, this one I selected because I wanted to play with granulating watercolors. I used mix. There were Schminke watercolors, and there were Ukrainian Rosa granulating paint. I discovered that for such old walls, old bricks, they are really quite well. It's not a perfect paper for watercolors. You need to control water, you need to control water pools, otherwise you will have such stains. I was so happy that I did wall, that when I did just one color, dark brown floor, I didn't control water very well, and in several areas I got those stains. But they even matched the style of the page. Of course, the main attention I wanted to attract to the girl. Somehow I called her Lolita. I don't know why, because maybe it's combo of her innocent face and this quite exquisite look. There is something which reminded me about Lolita. And I think that combo of this rich dark carmine colors of her velvet dress and turquoise color of her silk skirt it really looks quite elegant. Why I hadn't used this color combo before, I don't know. I will remember how well these colors look together. So despite some problems here, I think that I would consider this page a success, and I do love how they look together. Okay, what's next? Maybe next will be Clara Markova, because after many months of not touching Clara Markova books, I finally did a full page. In August I did small page where I tested polychromases, but I decided that I still prefer Prismacolors on this paper. Polychromases are also okay, but somehow for this page I decided to use Prismacolors, and again I used maybe green colors, which I don't use quite often for more realistic colors. I mean for leaves, for grass. Honestly, grapes always were my problematic fruit. My grapes never looked quite transparent and three-dimensional. Here I think that for the first time I did really good work both on the green and purple grape. Then, of course, as usual, all Clara Markova pictures, they are so detailed that in the end you really wish that there are lesser amount of details. I was slightly confused by those edible mushrooms and how to distribute colors for them. Butterfly girls, so they are visible but still won't distract too much attention from interesting fruits. I think that everything worked. And of course now I want to do more pictures in this lovely book, because honestly it's a pleasure to work with good pencils on good paper, especially if before you do something on thin paper like in Matchstick Mouse and then you switch to normal paper. You can feel how it really very helpful, how it makes your life much easier. Good paper. And I think that I finally somehow resolved this problem, that I could use slightly too exaggeratingly vibrant colors, unusual colors for Clara Markova, because before it always bothered me. Now I think that I feel more relaxed about her pictures. Now let's talk about Color Along, Color with Ukraine, in which I try to participate each month. And in September the theme was knowledge and science. It was dedicated to a city of Kharkiv. I selected several pictures where I have either scientists or something where books were depicted. The first one, it was Japanese god of knowledge. I was really excited to start coloring in this coloring magazine. I was very happy when I did the Tenjin god himself, but then I had huge problems with the background. Those swirls, which I don't know what they are representing, they bothered me since the beginning. My first background, it was made with alcohol markers, and I was really unhappy when I finished it. The whole area of books, it was totally lost. I decided to change color to mask it using gouache. I still dislike it, but not because of the background. This time maybe because of those distracting lines. It's not bad, but I still think that it looks quite chaotic, and this area, it distracts attention from the god himself. I hope that my next project will be more successful. I really need to do more pictures here to mask this disappointment of the first not very successful picture. But this disappointment made me to start another page for the same color along, and I started another book. I also own this one already for more than a year, and it's lovely, but I didn't know which pencils are the best, what media I can use. Pictures also are very detailed. And finally, thanks to this push, I started it. I selected a very detailed page. It also started from almost faux pas, not very successful choice of art supplies. And the strange thing, I didn't like how polychromasis behaved on this paper. Results with Prismacolors were much better. Yes, it's possible to work with polychromasis, and many areas here I did with polychromasis. But Prismacolors somehow blended better, covered paper better, and even looked more rich and vibrant. I started to use polychromasis on the suit, on the coat probably, of astronomer, and ultramarine didn't look very intense and vibrant. So when I did the rest of the elements, I used several brown colors from polychromasis for table, or carmine caput mortuum for chairs, but elements which I wanted to be vibrant and intense, like all those curious things which he has, I tried to do them with Prismacolors. And definitely, if I decide to do another page here, Prismacolors will be my main choice. If you have the same book, please share with me your experience, which pencils are best. Paper is good, simply maybe it's too smooth for polychromasis. I had similar surprise about polychromasis in Manuel de Bonheur, Japanese books by Kanoko Igusa. I thought like polychromasis, they behave quite well everywhere on all papers, even thin paper on cheap books, but surprisingly no. Here Prismacolors I loved much more. And I am proud that I finally did something, and now from the huge pile of my untouched books, this one goes to the pile of not very frequently books, but books which I at least started. Another page which I did in September and also could be suitable for this Kolorowanka about books was Symphony of Cute Animals, fairy tale library. Honestly, I can't say that I love to color books because it's a repeated element and you need to distribute colors in such a way that your books, they look interesting, like we have colorful books, but at the same time not very motley, so I could be bored very quickly when I colored books. But thanks to the art, to these additional elements which we have between the books, it was quite fun coloring. Of course, again, on this paper I struggled a little bit to do normal fur texture both on panda and on koala. Even on the geese it was difficult to draw normal feathers, or at least to add shading. But in the end I think that everything looks magical, harmonical. I especially love these two tiny editions. Like here probably we have fantasy books on this shelf, and maybe here various books about travels, about adventures. And I totally messed up with the fish bowl. I don't know, but the upper part of it, I think that I had to work more carefully about this one. Well, at least I did something in Symphony, because since the moment when I got Leon, the newest book, I totally abandoned this one, and it's definitely not a good thing. Speaking about Leon, I currently work on a page where I managed to do 3 tiny pictures. So now to finish it, I still need to do another one. It's from summer part, but I selected it first because I wanted to color various fruits, vegetables also, and now I have this lovely page. Surprisingly, my favorite so far is this element with bird. I think that it looks well balanced and vibrant in the same time, so wish me luck to successfully color the final element, because I really love such collages in this book when you can finish smaller picture in shorter time, it really makes life more interesting, more fun when you can color smaller page. But you also need to do preliminary color planning, how all of your 4 pictures, how they will look together. So at least I try to use some repeated elements. Here I'm not sure yet which colors I want to use for the final element, but of course I will finish it. Final work which I want to show you, it will be in Alliance World by Kerby Rosanes. That's my Ukrainian book. Honestly, I wanted to do totally different page. I wanted to do this one, and somehow I ended doing this Royal Protector. It's really very interesting when you start to color in this book, and I desperately tried to invent something in fantasy color, to use unusual color combos. I think that here I really succeeded. I started from this fantasy city. I looked closer at the line art and I decided that there will be parts of the city maybe where they habit, where they have their premises, and the base of those buildings. So that's why I used 2 totally different color palettes, and it already created quite interesting alien look to the whole city. Then I thought about something dramatic for the sky, but I already used on several pictures here dark blue or dark red colors, and in such way all my alien worlds, they look like very hostile, very dangerous. Finally I decided that no, I can do something peaceful, something normal, and that's where in the end I selected pastel, light, even tender colors like all those deco pink, light blue colors. And thankfully those light pastel colors created good contrast to the magical bird or royal protector. I of course wanted to use a lot of gold because for me it's best color for armor, for the helmet and other protective parts of the body, and I think that this gold looks really well with the accent purple which I used for wings. Lovely page. The best thing for me was that I allowed myself to work slowly. I did one part where color selection was easy, then I relaxed for a couple of days. I tested on paper several color palettes for sky because I really didn't want to mess it up. I did sky. Then I also made a break for a couple of days and I finished the Royal Protector. Now I think that it looks interesting, it looks spectacular, and I am happy that I used not my usual color palette, not my usual colors for birds, for buildings, for sky. So my return to Kerby Rosanes was quite happy, and of course now I want to do more, but as usual, lack of time, it's always problematic. Also, I see how many people already almost finished the dark fairy tales. I feel envious because I hadn't started this book yet. I think that for me, this Alien World, which probably is the least frequently colored book, it's kind of place where I can be sure that my color choices, they are my own, where I don't copy other works. So that's why I did this page, but of course I also want to start dark fairy tales. October with all this witch coloring, dark coloring, which we usually do, it's a perfect moment, so wish me luck. My small plan is to do another page in Alien World. My ambitious plan to do another page in Alien World and to start dark fairy tales. But once again, after this page, I confirmed that Kerby Rosanes is one of my favorite artists, and I love every moment when I work in his books. Well, thanks for watching. September was okay. I'm happy with my coloring results. There were coloring challenges which I resolved. There were different art supplies which I used, so I didn't feel bored. And I hope that in October I will do something for Halloween for Witch theme, and I will continue to use some of my frequently used books, but I also need to go and check books which I don't color quite often, but which also deserve to appear on my working table. Thank you, and until my next videos.